Oh, this is so much fun. Not. Close up. Hello. Are you there? Where's my audio? Hello. Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check. 1, 2. 9:30 program. 9:20 is there. How about now? Are we getting you now? Oh, USB audio is working again. All right. Well, that's progress. Step by step as we work our way through the various problems of working with a new computer. Sorry for the motion sickness. I thought I had all this working last night. Now that I have some audio anyways, I'll swing the microphone around here. I have to change configurations entirely. There, we got some volume to it. I'll have to cut this stuff out entirely. I think what I need to do is, here we'll go to pushing you off to the side here, and that off to the side. How are we doing? We do have this. I have the wrong name up here. We'll go to update that. I have a more accurate description of what's going on here. So, what do I have? We have the screen up. Nope, we do not have a screen up. So let's go to there. There we have a screen up here. And what do we have going on today? Well, as I mentioned, I have a new computer up and running. So we'll have a look at main reason for getting this up and running. I have some new software on here. This is Edgesoft Photo Scan. So what you can do with this is take a collection of images and turn them into a 3D model. And I just got another error on the other screen. So what we're going to do is stop that for a moment, and I will bring the other stream up, and we'll find out what's going on here. I have a third camera. I can see it on the system, but it is not kicking in for whatever reason. So I have to find out why. I've been doing some prints from DAZ 3D. I got those up and running. And I'm getting an error message here. I'm going to have to stop the stream and restart it. Great. Attempt number 3. And we're back. And this is attempt number 3 with my stream on a new computer. And we'll put in there. One of the things that happened today is soon as I got going, my computer wanted to do the update. So I believe I have the current version of Windows, the creative version, I think they call it. I know my other computer updated last night. But that's not why I'm here. First of all, yeah, let's talk about my horses from Daz 3D. And since I'm using the close-up camera, I have to just show off a couple of prints. I had 3 tries. I'm using 3 different slicers for this. And it's a horse model, as again, generated from Daz 3D. Model number 1 had a brim on it. And that's as far as it got before it pulled off the print bed. Now, this one came from Prusa Control. So you have very little control over the actual print. And where it generated the support, you can see the inside. It's very sparse there, and that's why it pulled off. So that was attempt number 1. Attempt number 2 came from Slicer. So we had supports, no brim on this one. We had the supports. Oh, I think I pulled the brim off already. And it pulled off at about the same height. No, it got higher. It did get higher than the last one. But it did pull off, and it started looking good. And this one is from Simplify 3D. And actually looks like a horse. It's very interesting in that, is it going to focus there? It's interesting in that it didn't generate any supports. And I saw that when I did the slice, even though I had supports turned on, I decided to let it run. So I am getting horses out of there. And I think they're just a tad small, and you have to work with it. One of the problems I found was that scale became an issue. So it's very difficult in the programs to actually set a height. Now, I believe Slicer actually allows you to adjust via height, scale via height, and actually type in a dimension. But Simplify 3D, no, it's a slider up and down, and good luck with what you're doing as far as I can tell. And you don't have the control either within Prusa Control. So getting closer to having an actual horse. Now, I was thinking this is not the orientation I needed to do the print in. I need to flip it upside down, and I can sand the back down. But that's didn't happen with this. I just want to do a test print. And as I said, if I can fine-tune these settings, see the legs are pulled forward, so they're pushed out. And without supports, I don't have a head. I just have supports underneath. I got some spaghetti. But flip it over. I think the detail on the rest of the horse, if I can keep it there, will allow me to actually start printing out some horses. And these came from Simplify. That was Simplify 3D. It generated that one. As I said, I got to flip it down so the feet are going up. So I'm just installed Daz on here. I'm not going to try opening up. I've been having too many problems today. Yeah, we're still running here. Good. I think the volume is a bit low for this. Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Crank it up a little bit. There, we got a little bit more. And there. I'm going to add a different microphone so I can move side to side with this configuration. So the other thing I did with that, and now that this is rebooted, I probably don't have it open. Let's see, we can let's see. Arc from here. Do I have it on here? I don't see it on that list. And this was, where's my history here? Nope, wasn't in there, but I was in here. Too much history there. Make printables. There we go. This is a handy package where what I can do with it. What I can do with this package, although I found out I didn't really need it for we're getting audio over there. That's interesting. There. So on here with this package, if you have something that won't work, you can upload a file to this site, makeprintable.com, and it'll go through and analyze your package and make it so that you can actually use it and see. So my models, I imported the horse. And I exported this, and actually the first print was the one that I ended up using. So the nice thing is this is a rigged horse model. So within DAZ 3D, I can move it, I can manipulate it. And I'm not too concerned about the tail on there. The scale we're working on, not much of an issue. I can bend it down, we can flake it out. But I can pose this within DAZ and then print it. And this is one of the issues I was having before. So what it does is allow me to take one model and use it over and over and over again to make a whole herd of horses that I can have out in the field. I may not use it as a foreground horse, but you can put them into the back. You can do all your animals. The next step is to try some people on there, but that's where I get into another software package that I now have on this system, and that is, and I don't know if you're getting this rumble, there is a street cleaner going by right now, of course. Really wish I could get this camera working. The other package on here, as I mentioned, this is one you can bring in an image, and we'll see. There we go. Here is Brenna in a first run through with the 3D package. The inside, it hasn't done the back, and the head's not masked out here. So it just did one side. And there is a major learning curve for me with this. The first issue was I just grabbed some images of her before she ran out the door. And then I used my phone. If I'm going to do people, one of the things to watch out is where their hair is, because the hair doesn't work out too well. When you're actually looking at the model, this would be a blob on the print. So if you want someone to have a blob in front of their face, I guess that would work. But as I said, this is just my first try. You do the person in what you call chunks. And then what you can do after that is it stitches the chunks together, and then you can seal it so you actually have a printable model. So it's very interesting for a start, but there is a learning curve. This is very complex software, and this is the reason why I have this computer, because as I'm going through the exercises working on this program, it is where I can get a number of things. One of the things I'm going to be doing is getting images from my, let's see, turn that off, images from my camera. I'll go shoot. There's a cliff in particular that we have that we want to add to our layout at the museum. So my goal is to go take a whole stack of images of it. And when I say stack, you do need a lot. There's a total of 37 shots here. That's considered low. Be more like 50, 60 shots. I haven't done a render in this. I can actually try that. And see how it grinds away with that. It only took 2 of the images for this. Fascinating. Wonder why. 2 angles. So I don't understand my chunks well enough, but I don't think it has enough information. Yep. How about this one? And this is where the speed comes in. That one we got more. We got this set. And I'm not playing with any of the settings yet. I have to go through this package one by one. Anyways, I'm going to go take pictures of this cliff. I'm going to run it through here. I'm going to then print it out, and then we'll be adding it to the layout at the museum. And so that's the goal. I've heard from others. That's one of the main purposes for this software. There we go. Here's Brenna's neck. You can see how quickly that happened, and I haven't done any of the smoothing on here, no texturing. There are tools for doing that. And so we'll be doing some merging on top of here. So it's a first look at Agisoft. So as we go through this, let's see. Hey, keyboard control. See what it can do from the top. They only picked 3 cameras out of here. I doubt if it can build anything off of this. Oh, it's trying. I have to learn why it can only take. I don't have any masking on with this stuff, do I? Oh, there's some basic masking. Now, the first time I did this, one of the things I actually did a good model of was the couch off in the background. So that's where your masking comes into play. So we're just getting the very top of her hair on here. So a lot more work to do with this package. And yeah, we're not there. Morning, Bob. Oh, is it still not picking up very well? I'm totally having issues with everything this morning. It's not liking the cameras on here. The joy of a new computer, Bob. And that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, it's afternoon for you. Well, it's still morning here. And let me see what is happening with the audio. You missed it, Bob, but the very first thing that happened was I came in here and Windows was updating. So that was quite annoying. Do I have a pattern chosen on this that's very directional as I move around my audio? I will pick it up some. How about that? We're getting a little bit better. As I said, I'm going to change microphones on here because now with the computer on here, we'll be going back and forth between this screen and over there. As I said, I should have a third camera up and running on here. I'm not even getting this full screen right now. So I have many settings to work on. Turn it up some more. Is that better? You're my guinea pig, Bob, here. Check, 1, 2. Now I'm getting near the top of my levels on there. I really don't want to push it up more beyond that. I'm going to start clipping. So we're slowly getting there. I'll talk with you, Bob. What we have going on here is this is my new workstation that I'm broadcasting from. It has another webcam over here that I can see it on the system. I can see it in the setup here, but it won't activate the camera, so I have to learn why. This is a workstation that I'm running from. It has 64 gig of RAM in there and a 4 terabyte mirrored drive, and it's an i7 chip. So I put a lot of cash into this thing. But the software that I was just running, and it's like the third time I've been on it, so I have a lot of learning to do. That is the package from Agisoft PhotoScan. This is the standard package. Standard package is only $170 as opposed to their Pro package, which is over $700. And the Pro package has absolutely nothing that I need because it's more for commercial use, and when you're dealing with GPS data, you're doing aerial flybys, working with satellite photography, or some other engineering need for that. But for our modeling purposes, this works. So the other thing we have here is, and I'm just going to go over it again, reaching over to the side. There we go. And I think the very first video I did, I talked about using DAZ 3D and using rigged models and trying to create things for there. Now, I actually got a model out that was printable, but now I worked with the rendering. Now, this was default settings on it. I had the setting sitting up. Here is the first run, and that is from Prusa Control. There we go. Get my hands going. I had a brim, but where the supports are, you can see right through there. Minimal support, so the brim didn't do any good. And it broke off the print bed when we got that height. I can see the base of the horse, but that's it. So attempt number 2 came from Slicer, and we have our supports in place. Once again, it did break off the bed. Didn't have a brim on this one. Just went with supports. And once again, it broke off the bed. And then I actually got a finished one, but it was interesting. This actually came from Simplify. And actually looks like a horse. It didn't put any supports. The front legs slid off, so they're leading it. And since there's no supports, there's no head on here. Now, as I mentioned, with this, I just went with the default orientation. Really, I think I should print these upside down. I don't want to do them on the side and glue them together. I want to avoid that. But if I print upside down, I might get a model that's useful as background models for a herd of horses. And next, I want to get into working with people. But the key component is I'm working within an animation package where I can use rigged models and I can actually get a printout. So that is a big leap ahead. And what I'll do is there's another useful tool out there, and here we go. Where did I get into it? I got into it here. This package, this is Make Printable, and a very useful site. You can sign up. You get 3 or 5 new models a month, or you can buy subscription at $7 a month if you're going up to 25 models, and it's more if you want to do 50 or more models. But anyways, when you start out, it's free. So you can upload a model into this. It will go through and actually this is their own models collection. See what we got. So this allows you to upload the model. You get a number of sites come through. I'm on a trial. That's why I'm getting 5 models for this month for the trial. But you put it in there. I'm just trying to see if how much information. High quality. I didn't hollow it out, which I probably should have. As I said, the other 2 printouts actually didn't use this download, so I may have found the right settings within DAZ to export a printable model. And one of the problems that I was finding was within DAZ, the default settings, when you go to export an STL or an OBJ, it takes your camera angle and just sends out what is visible in that angle. So for a shot like this, all this was missing. It was hollow. As I said, I think I got that working, and we're happy with the results from there. Now the other toy I have on here right now is, if I can do this without breaking anything. There. If you want to look at stuff that these are tactile buttons, and you can program each of those buttons. If I come up here and hit street, and we're back onto the side. This just makes life easier as you're going through a stream. You don't have to hunt down which scene do I want. You just push a button, it's there. We're getting there. Great little device. The Jetman there, Dustin, he tweeted it out about a week ago. So I looked at it, and as I was building up the system, I wanted to put everything together in one package. So that's why I added that. So the other thing I've added while I was shopping was an order from Micromart. And here's another little tool. And this is a major one for working with the models. What this is, wish I had the other camera up and running. What this is a power sampler about the size of a Dremel. And you don't need too much of that noise. It allows you to get in, deal with fine details. There's a number of different print heads, triangles, things like that. You get different shapes. So what I've been using that for is, here's my tunnel portal. It's the dual setup that we did last week. I've tested it out on set. I actually took pictures, but I haven't had a chance to transfer them over yet. But it is nice and smooth, and it's ready for the actual airbrushing now. There are 2 coats of automobile primer filler on that, and as I said, it's nice and smooth. It's going to work quite well. If you look at an original on there, you can see the lines quite distinctly if the camera can focus on them. So yes, here's another one. Almost a better example. You can see the lines over on this side, and with this printout, they're gone. So this is going to be quite well. And I'm, as I said, I was hoping to airbrush yesterday, but it was really windy out here. I am set up so I can actually, on my patio, I put my workbench for now, and I'll airbrush from there. That one needs a coat of cement, and then I also got, Micromart should be sponsoring me. I get so much stuff from them. This is their airbrush weathering set. I really like these paints. One of the big things, I'm happy with them. Belgio, that's the color. We were trying to come up with the name yesterday. They don't have your normal lid, so you don't get dry material falling back into the paint and clogging up your airbrush later on. You can just tip them over, put in the few drops of paint that you need, thin that down, and you're up and running. So it is a great way to work. As I said, I love those. I had some other ones that I had before the move, but of course they're gone now. So I'm building up my paint collection again. One thing I find with modelers is we all end up with tons of paint. When Rick passed away, looked at his box of paints. We still have it at the clubhouse, and it is one of those boxes. It's probably a foot and a half by a foot by a foot and a half high, and it is full of paint. And I look at it, I have drawers of different paints, not for the airbrush but for other things. So we just accumulate paint. So I wonder how much paint is really out there in the modeling world. But anyways, so I'm going to be airbrushing those. The other thing that is on its way, they screwed up with the shipping, is from Pixel Logic. I do have the ZBrush Core on the way, and with the Wacom tablet. Brenna has hers. She hasn't installed it yet, but she has video work to do. But we both have a copy. Now that finalizes my system. I believe I don't need anything else for it, software, hardware. It is ready to roll, other than a working webcam, which I have to figure out what's going on with that. But where's that webcam plugged in? I want to try something as we're chatting away here. Excuse me, as I'm still configuring. Where did this camera cable go? It is there. If I unplug you from there, and sneak your cable, you're not long enough. But I brought an extra cable in. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. Okay, we'll use this just to test. I'm knocking things over. I know I have another extender. For the cameras. Okay, be small and look up. I just have to try this. And let's see here. Camera 3. Let's see the... Nope. Oh, there we go. Works now. So I just have to get a cable to extend it. And I don't have this set up. I should make this my close-up camera. So if I put that down there and trace this like so, you get to stare at my head. There, a third camera. Of course, these things take place as we're going here. Actually, what we can do is, if you look at the screen, here's the stream deck, and I want to put another OBS scene on here. I give it a title, and this will be camera 3. And it's from this one, and scene is camera 3, and we're up and running. So I minimize that, and now I can over here, you can see that that has already appeared on my controller here. So if I push that, we're on this camera. So, handy tool. I just have to get an extension cable for this, and I know I had one before the broadcast. I'll find it afterwards. So, slowly technology is coming into play. We are getting up and running. Now, the other thing I want to talk about very quickly, not getting much modeling done, but we are slowly getting the technology going. So, yeah, I'm not going to keep this stream. It will slowly beat this computer into shape. I'll have everything working. One of the things that is happening is starting Monday, I am working 20 hours a week on building a repair, create, and learn center here in Creston. And I have 10 weeks, if needed, to put together a business plan. The business plan gets looked at by a committee here within Creston, and this is through the economic development area. Once that is pushed in, if I pass through that review, I move into actually opening it. And that center will have, well, starting off with my MK2S, but I plan on adding 2 other printers, low-end ones. Haven't decided on model types, but you know, the $400 model as opposed to the $700 model. You know, maybe $300 models. We'll find out what's out there. But a couple of those, but also a resin printer will be added, an SLA printer. Probably the Form 2. It's not the cheapest one out there, but is, from what I can see, might be the best one for the environment I want to put it into. So I'll have an SLA printer there, but also I'll be adding a CNC machine, and probably the Muse laser cutter. Not 3D printing NURB. Come on, brain, activate. Can you show me what we have on YouTube here? Yes, give me another YouTube tab. And show me my subscriptions. There we go. You're not a subscription. Come on, I watch them all the time. Yeah, it's the 3D printing nerd. Okay, that's right. That's what I wanted. 3D printing nerd will be... he has been... Hi there. Yep, Joel has a Muse. Thank you. I've been fighting with so much technology that my brain doesn't work. Well, my brain doesn't work all the time. Anyway, so... but anyways, he's got a Muse. He's doing some videos with that. He put out a neat one where he put together a logo and a very short trip for a coffee shop in his area. And it wasn't a project, it was just something he wanted to give them. So probably putting in one of those. CNC machine, a low-end one, not 100% certain. Micromart has carrying one right now, But as I say, I have to do my research. That's coming up. So I'll have a CNC machine. I'll have 3 FDM machines and 1 SLA machine, and your regular tools, drill presses, table saws, what have you. And we'll have workspaces for artists in there, and let's see, the CNC and laser cutter will be in one room that's vented. I'll have one room set aside, vented for airbrush work, so I can do that inside. And my workstation will be there. My big furniture item is I'm going to be putting a couch into my office, so when I crash, I can just go lie down, because sometimes my body just shuts down. That's why I'm haven't been working full-time for almost 20 years now. But looking forward to this project. Should be fun, should be interesting. Hopefully we get the financing in place to make it go ahead. It will be CNC machine, CNC. What do we got on that one? There we go. CNC Labs. Kit, okay. Yeah. Well, you can't get much cheaper than that. Actually, right now, my temporary budget, I'll see what's out there. Looking for something a little bit higher end than that. Have that put into my budget. There. Learn the camera buttons on here. From Waterloo. Okay. Well, thanks for the info on that. So all these tools, there'll be workspaces for artists that they can move into for their area. But the whole idea is being able to create things. Computer lab, I'm setting myself up to start out with 3 workstations and room for 6. So people come in, try a package, try 3D printing right there. The goal is, if they decide that some of this manufacturing is what they want to move into, their next step is to go into the College of the Rockies, which is here within Creston. It's throughout southern BC, and they can pursue it as a trade. Any of the technologies, or it might be that they'll move on from there to purchase their own setup. But the other nice thing is I'll have all these tools at my disposal as well. So I'm looking forward to that, especially when, as I mentioned, when dealing with something like this. Yes, pushing it, that camera. Dealing with FDM printers, I gotta get supports on there. Test print last night. Actually, the back is doing okay, and if I can get the legs on there working right, I wouldn't have a problem putting this out on the shelf as part of a herd of horses. But if I go with the SLA printer, then there'll be foreground objects as well. And once again, that's rigged models, so I can have whatever pose I want. And then the other aspect, the other tools I have now is putting together the Agisoft package and start modeling through there. So I got a ton of tools out here, and I'm going to be getting more in. The learning curve is going to be rather steep over the next while. One thing I haven't heard yet is what we're doing on Friday for the Friday night hangout. Will be this week, just not certain who's going to be hosting. Here, hang on just one moment. There, we got those. There. Sorry about that. You didn't need to hear me coughing. I've been sneezing like mad too last little while. Something outside is tweaking my system. I know there's a button on here. Oh, Nilla's going to be doing the hosting? Okay. I did not catch the ZBrush stream. I ended up being occupied. So I'll have to pursue that. So if it's Nilla on Friday, that's great. Nilla Bean. We'll put that onto the links. Work-wise, I had plans for today. My computer has been interfering with that. I need to get some new monitors for this system. I can actually support up to 4 monitors. It has a honking card on here. Supposedly, if you want to push it to the limit, you could put in 3 4K monitors for this, and it can use it, and you can go into gaming that way. That's how much horsepower it has. What I find interesting is something that's on the bleeding edge today is pretty much the same price as something that was on the bleeding edge 20 years ago. Well, 17 years ago. I wish I kept it. I was going through my paperwork as we got through the move. I actually ended up shredding the documents, and the one I put it through the shredder, I went, hold it, I should have grabbed it. It was for a hard drive. This hard drive had a whopping 4 gigabytes on it. The price tag for this 4 gigabyte hard drive was $1,500. Yeah, times have changed. You know, I have mirrored 4 terabyte drives on here. So, and the 64 gig of RAM. Now, why don't I go back into this software up here? We can go back in to what we have happening. Let me just put comments off to the side here. So, what you do with this is you take a collection of images. This is the Agisoft software. Now, what you do with your images is you mask things out. So here's the mask, and I've just included the t-shirt for this mask. So this mask is not complete on this screen. So I'm not using her t-shirt, and I'm just going fairly quickly with this. And you add and subtract areas from the mask. I didn't like that last one. And add the selection there. That area is included. Now I can continue on here. Now there's some automated masking, and this image just wasn't good enough for that automated masking. And I'm not doing a ton of detail on here. I just want to quickly clean up these areas. And yes, Gus does not have to be in here. So, as I said, I'm going quick and dirty. There's different periods of masking, as I mentioned. I'm not getting the real fluffy part of the hair. You have to be careful when you're getting your pictures, especially for people. You gotta look where the hair is. I'm just getting rid of the fuzzy bits. and I just have a couple images left to do. You have this collection. You can paint an area if you want to use that to add or subtract selection areas. You can have rectangle boxes for this. So that's that one. So if I wanted to do a rectangle box, I could do something like that. I much prefer, what do they call this thing? Let me just quickly trace over this. As I said, I'm not being accurate at all on here, and I do have to get, this is just off my cell phone. So, I gotta pull this over. As I said, I gotta get a different one. 1,000 for a 30 meg hard drive for the Amiga. Oh, I loved my Amigas. I used them. My initial 3D package that I bought around 1990 was $50,000 for an IBM RISC 6000, and then $50,000 for a license for the Alias 3D software. And within 18 months, I ended up loading up my Amiga. I think by the time I had the encoders hardware for it, I was up to about $6,000. And I could do almost everything I can do on the Amiga that I could do with the IBM system at a fraction of the price. I went into it at exactly the wrong time. But the Amiga, there's still things to it that I find other computers just aren't up to snuff with. So this is the last image I'm going to work on for this bit, and then we'll just turn it back into a model. I have spent a lot of time doing this over the years. And actually, I'm following the shadow on the neck, not the actual t-shirt. Okay, I'll take this as a section. One of the neat things is how programmable the Amiga was. When I went to SAIT, we did a news program. It's actually the reason I got the Amiga is SAIT, which was a college in Calgary, is a college. I was taking television production there. I have to follow the hairline here somewhat because I can't get enough detail on it. They were putting in an Amiga, so I bought an Amiga over the summer because I was going into it. This was year 2, and I asked the instructors, okay, what were they planning on doing with it? They wanted to use it for the news, to bring up graphics for the news training that we did, because we did in second year a news program live once a week, and it was an educational area. Okay, here I'm going to interrupt my story for a moment. Here's all the masks now. So we see the mask. I'll go into the workflow and I'm going to align the photos again. And this is where the speed of this system comes into play. But anyways, I learned how to use the tools, and I actually wrote a program that would fit the needs of the news requirements, where we could bring up one image and have another image in the buffer. And if they decided to toss a story, which they did just to throw us off from time to time, I could change the image on the buffer almost immediately and pop that one up, and we can bring that graphic up. So I brought that in, and so the first day of classes I went up to the instructor and handed him the disk and going, here's the software you need and here's some graphics that you wanted. We put that on, and I basically taught the instructors and they taught the rest of the class when it came to the Amiga, which is something I've been doing since high school. So there we go. And there's one last step here. Now there's extra tools within here to get into the smoothing, clean off the bumps, what have you. I will be working with learning these tools. Videoscape, yes. I can't remember the name of the software packages we're using. One of the things that was handy was the main graphic package we used. The guy who developed it lived about 10 blocks from where I lived, and we had an Amiga users group, and I was on the board for that. I think the largest meeting we had was over 500 people. I almost got throttled there because I just come back from a SIGGRAPH, the graphic users conference. Now look at that. Still work to do on it, but what I have to do is go and work on the other steps there. There's the wireframe. So you see all these lumps are here, and it's been smoothed out with the texturing. And this is one thing we have to watch in the 3D printing world, and that is texturing doesn't come across for us, because that's just an overlay of an image. We have to work with the vertices, so the vectorized image. So I would take this, and my hope is to push this into a package like ZBrush after adding the rest of the model, and then smoothing these areas out to make it a useful model. But there, went inside. So here we're looking at how fine it is, and you can play with the settings on how much we want for the detail on here. So you can just see the mouth on here. So all this needs to be smoothed, and I think ZBrush is the perfect package for that. That is once I find out how much I can actually do within this software. But as I said, this was, oh, Brenna's sitting there waiting for a ride. Let's get out there and take some pictures. Here's her hair. And so that lock of hair is an issue. So that is a quick look at Agisoft. Very interesting. It's an inexpensive package. You can use it with a smaller system. It's that you're very limited on how many images you can use, and also very limited on how fast it is to actually work with it. So yes, our Amiga group was in Calgary. We weren't quite a population of 1 million. I think the greater Calgary area was over 1 million. So the Amiga users group was quite large. The reason I almost got lynched at that meeting was from SIGGRAPH. One of the tapes that were brought back was a beautiful video. And you got to remember, this would have been about 91, 92. Beautiful video of a bee going through the forest, and then a dragonfly comes after it in a dramatic chase scene. It was a fantastic video, very well done. Came out of Japan. I let the video play until the point where the dragonfly looks like it's about to pounce onto the bee, and I paused it there and said, okay, I'm stopping it there. This is for the general group. If you want to see the end of it, come to our animation meetings, and we can talk about animation, and you can watch the rest of the video. They made me show the rest of the video that night. That was the only way I was getting out of the room. So when there's 500 people like that, well, you pay attention to stuff like that. But it was fun. AMOG or something like that. That was the name of the users group in Calgary. It was an interesting time. I found the community around the Amiga felt like the community we have in 3D printing. We're interacting, we are working together as a community. The PC users were never like that. The Mac users, there's a small group for that because I own the Mac as well. It wasn't like that. But it was an awesome community. There was one problem with the Amiga. That problem was Commodore. They didn't even shoot themselves in the foot. They blew the entire leg off. I dealt with a couple of retail outlets, and Commodore was basically robbing them blind. Commodore would say, here's an upgrade, get it for free, just take it into the retailer and he'll do it for you. But there was no compensation for the retailers to actually do the work. They're expected to do it for free, and their margins were pretty low on the Amigas, as it were. And then to have all this extra work on that your supplier expects you to do for the clients for free and for them for free, it just got to the point where they wouldn't carry the product anymore. But it was a great computer, and the user community was great. The first SIGGRAPH I went to was in Boston, and I didn't even know I was going to it until a few days beforehand, and one of the guys says, hey, we're going to Boston. I bought 2 tickets. You're coming with me. Oh, okay. And the folks that stayed with, a retired couple, they were with the Boston Amiga Users Group. I was sort of puzzled how we ended up there. We were in Braintree. They had a wonderful house there. Fascinating couple. She was a retired school teacher from Boston. He was a retired physicist. His project that he worked on at NASA during the 60s was he was part of the crew that designed the laser reflectors that Apollo astronauts left on the moon and that are still being used today. So that's what he did for a living before he retired. They took us the tour of the Boston area. It was somewhat scary. They had large German Shepherds, and so what they did was they bought used limos because they said limos have been babied. So it was great because their kids could fit in the back, the dogs can fit in the back, and so that's what he had for a car. But this fellow drove through some of the very narrow streets telling us stories, and both of his hands were up, and he was talking away like this, but he's driving at a high speed, and the streets weren't designed for cars, so that was a little bit frightening. But it was a fantastic SIGGRAPH. I actually ended up exchanging 2 sentences. That's a good enough chat for me. It was Steve Jobs while I was there. I was at one booth, and he and his entourage came, and we were talking about, it was RenderMan. It was the RenderMan booth. RenderMan was fairly new at the time, and we had a short conversation there. I was chatting with them. He comes in, he asked a few questions, and I said why it was really important to have a background tool that was a standard that animation developers can, 3D developers can use as the rendering engine. But anyways, that was cool. So yes, I talked with Steve Jobs. 2 sentences. He did reply. But learned a lot out of what was happening in the graphic world back then. And I ended up going to SIGGRAPH about 45 years in a row. So you get to see things develop. Now, the one thing about Boston was almost everybody had an animation of a teapot doing something. Most of the time it was breaking. No, not that. For that one, the animations were, building teapots, rendering teapots, animating teapots. The next one was in, I can't remember, Vegas or Dallas. That one, the animations were people smashing teapots because they got sick and tired of them from the one in Boston. But we did learn a lot there. It was through SIGGRAPH that I got to sit in with conferences where the people on the panel were the folks from come on, brain function. Pixar wasn't really active yet. Pixar's lamp was there, so yes, they were on the panel. The main one, though, was Lucas's graphics company that does, they dominate the animation market for film now, and I can't think of their name. If you can think of it, throw it up here on chat. Anyways, interesting hearing their stories. The one, Hunt for Red October, had just come out, and they showed the raw footage from that and the mapping techniques. They ended up getting the project after the first company failed to deliver for the producers. So they had a very tight time frame to work on this project. So it was interesting to see how they quickly threw together let's see. Let's see. Industrial Light and Magic. There it goes. I don't know if I, yeah, that's it. Great. You got it typed up there, and I had it in my head. I didn't see your post. I actually had it up there first. Industrial Light and Magic, what they ended up doing for scenes, for the submarine scenes. One of the big things that brought that out after toning things down was adding the particles in the water, having those float through. Now, all that was rendered out to film, by the way. Another one, it was Die Harder, the one with the airplanes, that final scene with all the jets lined up. That was shot off of the parking lot of Industrial Light and Magic. Now, another panel was from the folks who did Tron. And they had a number of rendering problems for that. And every once in a while, the color would change on the film transfer, and they could not fix it. They don't know why. So what they did is they just added a sound in there and went, hey, we're inside a computer. Nobody knows what it looks like. It's just a change that happens in there. And then they moved on from that. But with that, I did get to play. That was my introduction to the Wacom tablets. So I've had them since about 1990. So when I got my first Wacom tablet, 3D graphics, also, putting on the gloves, working with moving objects with the gloves. That's where I'm still looking at tools. I might add some sort of 3D control for modeling. I haven't seen one I liked yet, but I've only done a little bit of research. But so those tools have been out there. It's fascinating. As I said, I started with the Alias software. I had packages on the Amiga, and then I ended up working more on computers than I was working on video, because more companies were going, oh, you know how to do this, can you fix this for us? And I ended up working for a few studios doing that sort of work, and ended up doing that full-time for a number of years. Worked for the professional Sony dealer, and I got all the new hardware in, and quite often with no manuals. Quite often it was beta, and I had to put it through its paces. And sometimes salesmen would sell them to companies, and I hadn't figured out how it worked yet, and I had to do support. So that was a lot of fun. Sometimes the package just didn't work as advertised. The joy of beta software. But I skip ahead to getting into 3D printing and getting a package like Fusion 360 and the tools that are in there. And tools are, well, everything from Tinkercad on up. I tried a number of the software packages out there before deciding on using Fusion 360 for my modeling. That they're so easy to use these days. The reason I tried a number is I had to get one that it felt right, and that's where Fusion 360 came to light for me, and it worked rather well. One of the things here, you can see in the background, I have a camera here. It's supposed to be my main camera. It's wide. Storytime's over for a moment. Let me bring up Fusion 360. Where are you? I don't have my printer in here yet. Fusion 360 is slowly popping up here. Now last week, I think it was, maybe it was earlier, may have been earlier, I started working on the camera mount, and that camera, the wide camera, is on the lamp. And well, since I'm using that, I can move this camera around and go here. There it is. So that just has a small piece that I put together within Fusion 360. So we wait for it to load. Ended up being a straightforward piece to manufacture. I need to print a couple more out. I'm going to do a slight change to it. That's not what I wanted. I want that. And where did I put it? So when you last saw this, I just had these components put together. So what I did was I decided to just put a straight block on it, punch a hole through it. Now the only thing I messed up on was when you're looking at parts like this, you gotta look at the measurements. And a lot of that, because you look at this and you think it's pretty big, and it turned out it's actually a fairly small piece. This section here actually should be double the length. As it is, I did stretch it out some, but it's very, very tight clearance. And let's see. That's a sketch here. And so even though I have it set to 35 centimeters here, millimeters, 35 millimeters. You think 35, you think big. 35 millimeters is only 3.5 centimeters, which is what, inch and a half? I think that's the conversion. It really needs to be more like 5 centimeters long. But then you have to take this object on, reposition it. And let's see what we got for that. Okay. And then this hole, I have to reposition the hole as well. Where is the hole? Okay. Got the body on. Where did I put the hole? There. There's the hole. Okay. There we go. Need to go down there. So that will give me a final object, and then I'll print this off again. A little bit larger base for the camera to sit on, a little bit more flexibility for it. And then I'm going to give this a new name and save it. There, that's saved. And what do I have on here? File name. There. I'll give me an STL, and then I'll slice that up afterwards. So that's all I wanted to do with Fusion 360. And let's go to this camera again. We're there. And that gives us the, as I said, I need a few of these things up and running for the various cameras that we're using. So the last thing to do there, I don't have it on here, do I? I have made use of, and I thought I'd put it on here already. Prusa brought out last week a new software package. I actually have a review video that I have to finish editing. My other computer decided to do its update last night, and I had to reboot the system, and the update started. So I couldn't finish my edit, but we'll get that done today. This new software package is Prusa Control. It's a slicer. It is not a replacement for a slicer. It is a companion product. Prusa Control is a slicer. The control part is Prusa is under control of the slicer. It is meant for people that are new to 3D printing. So that package is one that, well, Joseph Prusa in the blog says they want someone who's just bought a printer. They don't understand slicing. They haven't learned how to slice yet. All they want to be able to do is pump a model in there and say, print. So it does a quick slice, and it has a very interesting feature for a package. It's like that. Once you've sliced it, you can look at the preview, and as you're going up and down the slices, you can come to a point, you just hit the plus section, and you can put a color change in at that point. And what happens with that color change is when you do your print, and you can tell I've done a video because I can walk through this fairly quickly. Once you've done your print, once you're in your print, when it hits that level, the print bed goes to the back, and a filament gets ejected, unloaded, and it beeps at you, waiting for you to load the new filament. Once you're happy with the color of the filament that's being extruded, then you just hit resume and it picks up from there. So something that I did for Brenna, it took me a little bit of time because I had to use Simplify 3D and put in some code into the scripts. Find the layers, set your numbers, and basically put in how you want it to operate. For the filament change, this one is, I want to go there, click done, save the G code, and you're looked after. So there's very little control for the user in Prusa Control. It's under Prusa's control. But the light, the lamp camera mount that I'm using right now, I sliced it in there. It was quick, easy. It's no muss, no fuss, just go. You don't have chance to change filaments, descriptions, adjust temperatures. You just have to go with their defaults. You do have about a dozen different filaments to choose from, but as I say, you choose a default from them, tell it what your nozzle size is that you have up and running, and then go. So quick, dirty, easy to use, and I think it's perfect for that person that's brand new to 3D printing. As soon as you want more control over what you're doing for your prints, then you have to go over to Slicer or Simplify 3D. The thing I'm waiting for is for Slicer, the one with the 3, to get is more control over your supports, user-controlled supports. Then you can go in, the horse that I printed out earlier. I think some of the supports that were generated I could have removed without a problem. But this afternoon I'll try printing those in a different way. But so that's why I'm waiting for Slicer. Simplify, I'm not noticing problems from it, but I haven't done a ton of printing. As I said, long-term users for it are really having problems of it lately. So I can't compare to what it was before to what it is now. But I am teaching myself and forcing myself to use Slicer more and getting into its settings. One thing I like from Simplify is how easy it is to do different processes and change things as you go along. With Slicer, what I like is how you can automatically adjust the slice height as you go through the model, so you can look after those top curves. So 3 different slicers we've been using. They each have their advantage. I don't have Cura on here. I should just put that on just so I can get used to it. But yeah, I just need something else to learn. That's the way it goes. But I think, we're just almost 2 hours at doing this. The first half hour was me just trying to get the stream working from this computer. At least it's up and running. I think I'm going to call it a day for here. I'm going to go edit that video so I can get that uploaded. And then I'll have to get ready for this makerspace, that project. Gee, I'm starting work on Monday. That's new for me. So the nice thing is I get to do a lot of it out of my house for now. But a lot of work ahead, but looking forward to seeing what we put together for that. Oh, and I got my sander, which fell apart or fell down here somewhere. Where'd it go? You're plugged in there. That's the line for it. So we're looking up. Yeah, I lean back there. I have tunnel portals to sand. It works like a charm. Only thing is with this is when it heats up, this is just sandpaper with an adhesive backing. As you're sanding, that heats up and it starts sliding off, so you have to let it cool. Hey, yeah, I love the Amiga days. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I guess we're on Nilla Bean's channel on Friday night for the stream. Hopefully we'll have things going. We'll find out what the topic is there. We really got going on safety and 3D printing, so maybe we'll pursue that some more. And I think some of it will be getting into things like Nightbot, because he got really hammered with the troll on his last stream. So maybe he'll cover that. I don't know. We'll find out. But anyways, subscribe if you already haven't done so, and click on the bell. If you're feeling generous, head over to Patreon. I am mostly on 3D printing for model trains. I gotta get that onto this frame here, but we're getting things done piece by piece. And I'm going to get my website, the 3D page, up and running. But if you go to the website, zidim.com, you can go over and listen to Songology. Just uploaded Lay Down Sally, a little bit of story behind that. Put that up a couple of days ago, and we have one more dog episode to do, and I have to get that up on Friday. That's the goal. And only have about another 100 episodes to do from the Song of the Day segments, and my co-host Bruce for that. He did a count. He's probably got over 30,000 songs in his library right now. His playlist that he uses at home has 27 days worth of music on it without repeats. So he has a ton of stories to do, so we'll get there. But first of all, we have to get our existing episodes up on the website. And they are split across parts, so you can listen to our stories, and then you have to go click on the song. I can't put them together due to copyright issues. So anyways, be safe out there, and we'll see you Friday night or next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Bye.